All right, it is now time for episode 5 of Hate Week. And Aidan, it's only Tuesday, and this is our 5th episode that's going to be coming out. So we are joined by Joe Castro from the Philly TP podcast. Amazing follow on Twitter, even though I'm a Cowboys fan, and a great follow on YouTube as well. He likes to spar back and forth, but at the same time, actually knows what the hell he's talking about. So, Joe, thanks for hopping on. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling good. Obviously, there's news we're going to be talking about, but I feel good. It's an exciting week. Ready to talk some birds, man. Ready to talk some birds.
Okay. That's how I feel. I still feel good. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel good, but there's definitely news. We were talking backstage. This is the first show we've done post Jalen Hurts injury news. But I will say, Nick Sirianni this morning said, if Gardner Minshew plays, not that he will play. Mm-hmm. So do you think there's any chance that at all, because I know it might be slim, that they proceed with Jalen Hurts this weekend and say, let's just end it. Let's get this 1 seed locked up. Let's get this division locked up. And then he has about a month to rest. Do you think there's any chance of that?
I would say that there's a chance. I mean, if you look at who Jalen Hurts is, you look at yesterday, right? You look at the game that we had, and what was it, Saturday? My days just go together too much. I don't even know what day it was. Yeah, but either way, you look at our last game, right? You look at when Jalen Hurts got hurt against the Bears. Jordan Mailata, said stay down. He was like, get me the F up. And he got up and finished that game. So that he has that in him. He's going to want to play. You know what I mean? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Probably not much if the, team doctor says you're not ready to go, if the coach want to be a little bit secure. Look, from my point of view, from my vantage point, if he's not 110% ready to go, I see zero reason why to put him out there. It's going to suck because he is a great player. He is a great weapon in himself, but you do have to believe in this team. You do have to believe that this defense can go out there and shut down their offense. And honestly, I believe in a Gardner Minshew. So with all that said, I think that there's a chance. Yeah, there's always a chance that he goes out there and just says, I want to play this game. But I think that it's more so heavy on the side of him erring towards caution, right? I'd rather not have him for 2 weeks, 3 weeks than not have him 1 week in the playoffs. So I don't think that he will play, but there's always that chance, right?
Yeah, it feels like he got robbed of the MVP moment, but at the same time, you'd like a playoff win too, so gotta err on the side of caution for sure.
And I think as a Cowboys fan, one of the 7 realistic ones that there are on Twitter and in this world is Gardner Minshew can win this game.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's really a question. So do you really want to risk putting a 75%, 80% Jalen Hurts out there, and God forbid, for the first time ever, Micah beats Lane Johnson screaming off the edge and pounds him into the ground, and then what? Now he's gone. I agree with you so much, Joe. It's not worth it. And this game almost, I don't want to say it's lost its luster because the Cowboys didn't hold up the end of their deal. But if the Cowboys were 1 game back, we might be talking about a different story. But 2 games back with 3 to play, the division's in a lock. So I don't think it's necessary. You have to run them out there on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Now, if he doesn't play, which we'll put it at like 90% that he doesn't, you mentioned believing in Gardner Minshew, and he is, and I'd say at the least, an above average backup quarterback. What do you expect to see from him against the Cowboys in terms of game plan? This was a team that we decided to go air raid in 20-degree weather in the wind. So I don't know if they'll change it at all for Gardner. So what do you kind of expect from him if he is the starter on Saturday?
I will say, to kind of piggyback off what you said with the air raid, because we did. It made no sense what we were trying to do against the Bears, not only just because of the weather, but just because of the type of team we have. Like, you don't need to do that. But I think that even if Jalen Hurts was playing this week, or if he does play this week, I don't think that's what we would come back out and do again. It just didn't make sense to even do it against the Bears, let alone one of the better defenses, even though they're kind of having their ups and downs as of late, one of the better defenses in the NFL. So with that said, I do feel like Gardner Minshew can win this game, and I don't think that we're going to ask him to do it on his own. So I would expect to see a lot of the run game. I would expect to see a lot of the same that you see with Jalen Hurts. just not necessarily the, running 17 times on design plays. I obviously don't see that happening, but I do see a lot of Miles Sanders, a lot of Kenneth Gainwell, who I think they're starting to kind of figure out how they can utilize him. A lot of Dallas Goedert, who we just got news is now activated. So, you hit me with the Jalen Hurts news, so I had to hit you with some good news. We got our tight end number one back.
I like that.
That's huge. That's huge. So you look at that. I think that you don't have to change much. And I think that you look at when the Eagles brought Gardner Minshew here, I think that was the mindset. I think the mindset was, this guy is a guy that wants to start. He wants to win. He wants to play. And we saw that even beginning of this year, right? Or going back to last year when Gardner Minshew went to Nick Sirianni and asked for the starting job. So look, he's going to go out there and he's going to play like this is his career, because it might be. If he goes out there and plays very well against the Dallas Cowboys, he can be looking at a decent contract next year. Not saying he's going to be the next Tom Brady, but this can, extend his career a little bit longer. So I think that he's going to go out there with that type of mindset. But on the other end, I don't think that Nick Sirianni and the staff will let it get into his control. I think it's going to be a lot of, like I said, this running game, a lot of, short throws, maybe slants to guys like AJ Brown. I don't think you'll see the crazy long distance throws that we've been doing with a Devontae Smith. I think the only thing you really lose when you put a Gardner Minshew in there, and this is not a knock or disparity to Jalen Hurts, this is more saying your team is good enough. Only thing you really lose is the quarterback designed runs, is the real deep shots that sometimes you look at Jalen and you're like, why did you throw? Oh, that's why you threw it. So you lose things, but I think that you still have enough to go out there and win. And realistically, you look at the Dallas Cowboys offense, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have been top 3 the past 6 weeks or something like that. So that's who I think we need to stop. I don't think that the narrative is any longer, we need to go out there and put up 40 on your defense. We need to stop your offense. So that doesn't involve Gardner Minshew. So I don't think we lose too much. I know that's a long-winded answer. And I do think he can go out there and win it. And I don't think you have to change up your game plan too much.
And I have a twofold. I have an answer and a question here, because you brought it in. So what I said to Aidan yesterday, unfortunately, and if you haven't watched it, I suggest watching it. Just go watch. And you can do this with Gardner Minshew. You don't have to. It's not. We talked about this, Aidan, before Jalen got hurt. But watch the first drive that Jacksonville scored against the Cowboys this weekend. They went right down the field with misdirection. You get everything going one way, but you go the other way. These Cowboys linebackers, without Leighton Vander Esch, and he's already out in this game, they fall for the eye candy like that. You can do that with Gardner Minshew. Get me going this way, pop it this way. You're going to go right down the field with Miles Sanders, with, unfortunately, Dallas Goedert back, and guys like Devontae Smith and AJ Brown going against whoever the hell is playing at cornerback too, because whoever's there, throw it there. We got a problem. But you mentioned the Cowboys offense, and it's true. So they've scored at least 27 points in 7 straight games. Obviously, Dak has thrown 9 interceptions since he's been back from the injury. Some his fault, some not his fault. But they're still putting up points. CeeDee Lamb's having a great season. We can talk CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown a little bit. But
we will.
How do you expect the Eagles, or I should say, how do you want the Eagles defense to attack this Cowboys offense?
I think it's very similar to a lot of teams. Get to the quarterback, right? It starts with you. To me, realistically, and I don't know if your team figured this out yet, but I feel like your offense can be very potent if you run it through Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott and just kind of commit to that. So, I would say you have to stop that first, but you guys might do that for us. So realistically, I think that you have to slow down this running attack of the Dallas Cowboys. If they get that going, then it's going to be a long day, because just like you say, misdirection on your defense, we're an aggressive defense as well. We like to get to the quarterback. So that kind of works on us as well. We haven't been exploited as much as you guys maybe in the last couple of weeks, but it's something that we have to worry about as well, because you're sending your dogs all the way to the quarterback. If if something goes not how you're planning for it to go, you can definitely get fooled. We've seen it happen with the Eagles already. So, look, stop the run game and get to Dak. I think that Dak Prescott, when he's asked to be a pocket quarterback, I don't think he's terrible, and I'm not going to say that he's terrible, but I think that you're seeing the lack of playmakers have an effect on him as a quarterback. I don't think that he is who some people maybe in the franchise thought he could be without those wide receivers. So you know, it is, and it's no knock towards him. I know that you guys have had injuries. I know that you guys have gone through stuff, but when you look at just Dak Prescott, I'm not as afraid, and maybe that's a bad word. I'm not as worried about Dak Prescott as I was in previous years. I don't think that it's there. You know, from the play calling to just him on downs where it feels like he's trying to get 14 points with one throw. It's not the same Dak that I feel a lot of people are used to. So to me, it comes down to that running game. Again, a long-winded answer, but to me, it starts with that running game, and then just make Dak stay in that pocket. And if he stays in that pocket, I have full faith that our dogs are going to get to him at some point. So that's how I want to see it happen.
And unfortunately, not even the dogs getting to him, which I think they can definitely with the shuffling that's happening on the Cowboys offensive line with Peters in and then Tyron Smith in and all that. But you mentioned the playmakers or lack thereof right now. We'll see if T.Y. Hilton is activated in this game. James Washington has given them nothing in 2 games. And Michael Gallup has been a ghost. And, you know, Noah Brown's Noah Brown. But the thing that they don't do as a wide receiving core at all is get separation. And that scares the living hell out of me going against the cornerbacks that you guys have in Slay and Maddox and Bradbury. They're going to eat that up all day long. If you can't get separation on them, and Dak's forced to stay in the pocket, how do you beat that?
Is that a question? Because
no, that's just
because I was about to say a lot of people try to figure that out. If I knew, I would be getting paid a lot more money right now, because it's been impressive to watch, man. And it's funny that you bring that up, because as Eagles fans, I'm one of the more pessimistic at times Eagles fans, but this year it's like you can't really say much, if anything, about this Eagles team. They have went through adversity. Every team does, but they've come out on the other side. So it's like we have a lot of questions going into this offseason, especially pertaining to that secondary. So it feels good right now, but it's like now we got to sustain that. Now we got to figure out a way to, you know, bring that back next year. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
It's been good. And you mentioned adversity. We haven't had to face it as much as other teams, but we certainly do, and especially in the secondary. So CJ Gardner-Johnson's obviously not going to play. He's on IR. Reed Blankenship got hurt immediately after that. So we've gotten like one good Kayvon Wallace game and one bad Kayvon Wallace game. So I know we talked about the lack thereof in terms of playmakers for the Cowboys, but do you have like the utmost faith in the secondary right now, or do you think it kind of be exposed on that back end without CJ in there?
Now that we have Avonte Maddox back, I feel a lot better. I think that Avonte Maddox, even last game, really showed what he can be as kind of a versatile player. And I think that as Eagles fans, we all knew what he can be as a safety. We've been kind of yelling for him to go back there for a while. But we knew that that he's an elite slot cornerback, in my opinion. So look, I think that we're okay. Does it worry me? Yeah, a little bit. I won't lie, especially not having Reed back there. You know, that really helped. I think they figured out what to do with Kayvon. Like, I think Kayvon Wallace is like scary in the box. I don't know if it's like just something they're figuring out now, or if it's always been something, but he is just like, when it comes to the run game, I feel like he's an asset, like almost like a guy that I would not mind seeing snaps in the playoffs. That's the type of guy, like if it's certain situations, right? I just feel like he's been very good. But you have to be worried. I mean, Marcus Epps loves to hit people once they get into the end zone, but you know, before that, I don't know where it's like, calm down, bro. You didn't make the tackle. It's okay. But no, I'm a little bit worried, but I wouldn't say that it like, I don't think that's where they can expose us, because I don't think that they'll have enough time to get there, if that makes sense. I don't think you want to keep Dak Prescott in that pocket long enough for a play to develop down the field. I mean, if you're killing us on the run game, then that's kind of where that comes into play. But I don't think that we're going to allow that. I think that we're going to make him take his quick reads, make him throw the ball quick, make him get the ball out of his hand, make him try to make hero type plays and hero type throws when he really shouldn't, and try and keep him in third and long. I think that's the recipe to winning. I don't think they'll have enough time to really try to dial it up down the field. So I think that helps, you know, the guys that are playing at safety.
100% agree, and helps Kayvon Wallace, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Just always been a guy since Clemson who can play in the box, tackles well, In coverage is where he struggles. So
yeah,
that would definitely play into that. So we'll see there. All right. Let's do this. Let's switch it up a little bit because we're all in the mud on Twitter, and this is a great week to argue. So let's get our sound bites.
I've deemed it the Twitter ball.
Twitter ball. Yeah. Let's do this. You are a GM. The NFL decides we're going to do a fantasy franchise draft. You start anew on your franchise. You're drafting one guy. Who are you going with, A.J. Brown or C.D. Lamb, and why?
I'm going with A.J. Brown. I'm going with A.J. Brown for a couple of reasons. And it's not, it is, one of them is biased. I mean, it is what it is. We got to be honest about that. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you look at the numbers, and then the offenses he has been in. He has been in primarily running offenses, right? I mean, I don't even know if you want to call Tennessee Titans a running offense. They're just a Derrick Henry offense, right?
Yeah.
But he was a huge part, and you see the lack of having A.J. Brown on the Tennessee Titans. He comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. We have our first 1,000-yard rusher since LaShawn McCoy. And on top of that, he's putting up better numbers than Terrell Owens did in 2004 when he came to the Eagles. So it's like, you look at all that, and it's like, and on top of that, when Terrell Owens was out here, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm thinking it's like Freddie Mitchell top. I'm trying to think who his number 2 was. You look at A.J. Brown, he's got Devontae Smith, who is arguably one of the better wide receivers the Eagles have had. So it's like, he's not just doing it in run-heavy offenses. He's not just doing it in offenses where maybe the quarterback has questionable arm talent, right? And I think that Jalen has proven a lot, but you can look at Ryan Tannehill and Jalen Hurts and say they're not Patrick Mahomes, and that's 100% fair. And he's also done it with guys on the other side. So, I mean, I got to go with A.J. Brown. I feel like he's made a lot of mistakes, but so has C.D. Lamb. C.D. Lamb has an absorbent amount of targets. And I said this on, Best of Enemies a week or two ago. And you guys are force feeding C.D. Lamb. And it's because he's the main guy that you have. You haven't had Michael Gallup for a while. Now that he's back, like you said, he hasn't really shown up. And you look at some of these guys. Noah Brown has had some impactful games, but you haven't had a solid number 2 wide receiver. So you fed, C.D. Lamb, and even still, I feel like A.J. Brown has been able to get the better of the year, like less, receptions, but more yards, more touchdowns. I got to go with my guy. I got to go with my guy, A.J.
And it's funny that you mentioned how he's being force fed, and I don't disagree. But at the end of the Jacksonville game, both in regulation and in overtime, on 3rd and 10 plays, they're throwing the ball to Noah Brown, where Aidan mentioned it was 3rd and 6 coming out of the 2-minute warning for the Eagles. And what do? A slant to A.J. Brown, because it's the smart play to do. So it's also, I don't think Kellen Moore understands how to use a true number 1 wide receiver in C.D. Lamb. But that's another topic for a different question. All right, I got 2 more for you. One, this is just one that just popped in my head, and just because I want to make a choice. 2017 Eagles are playing this Eagles team on a neutral field. Who are you taking and why?
Well, a neutral field.
Exactly.
Yeah, what would a neutral field
be? It's just the
link. Dang, that's a tough one. A lot of people have said it, and a lot of people form the question, like, who's a better team? If I had to say who's the better team, I would say that this year's Eagles team is the better team. But it's hard. Are we talking Carson Wentz, or are we talking Nick Foles as my quarterback?
We'll do Carson when he was, because no, he got hurt in week 13. Weren't we? No, yeah, we'll do with Carson, because they were flying with him before he got hurt too.
I would say with Carson it would be a good game. I think that this year's team would win, but it would be close. With Foles, though, I think it would be a better game, if I'm being honest, because something was just special about that team. That team just shouldn't have won. I mean, this team, they look like they should go out there and win this championship. But once Carson Wentz went down, we were underdogs every single game. So if it was Nick Foles, I'm kind of, biting my nails if I'm Jalen Hurts, because they're going to just figure something out. So, but I'll go with this year. I'll go with this year, because I do think that they are the better team.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're going to be wearing underdog masks at the playoffs.
I think that reminds me. Football Kelly, we had her on the show. I think she tweeted out something the other day about the Eagles. She was like, I was excited about the 2017 Eagles. I'm confident in this Eagles team.
Yeah.
Like, that's like kind of the difference. And I was like, that's pretty, I like that tweet.
All right, last question before we get you out of here. We've been asking every guest this week with this huge game. So we want to hear from you in a few sentences. What does the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry mean to you and in general?
I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. It realistically is. It's dope. It's dope because we've both been, we've mattered. We've mattered at least throughout my lifetime. Obviously, the quip is always that the Dallas Cowboys haven't won in 27 years, which they haven't. I'm here to remind you, everybody. But you still have been the thorn on our side, right? It's always been, it's either the Eagles, at least for my lifetime, and that's what I'm speaking for. But it's always been Eagles or the Cowboys. The Giants and the football team, Commanders, whatever the heck they are, they've always seemed to, sneak in here for a year or two, but it's always felt like it's been, McNabb versus Romo, and then, Wentz versus Dak, and now Jalen versus Dak. It's always been the marquee matchup. And then you add, the fans to it. And I think that's really where it has its luster. I think that we like hate each other. It's very rare, and you guys are cool. Don't get me well, one of you are
one of two.
But no, there's a couple Cowboys fans that I am friends with, and it's fun to be able to go back and forth. But at the end of the day, we do not like each other. We think that you guys are delusional. You think we are delusional. It's like we're literally kind of in the same boat as far as how we act as
we're
fans.
the Spider-Man pointing meme.
Exactly. We really are. So it's like, it's fun. It really is fun. And I'm glad that we have it, to be real, because I've been able to meet a lot of like-minded, very smart Cowboys fans, and I know that kind of sometimes sounds like what's the word I'm looking for? What's that word that it's the opposite of it? I don't know. Either way, usually those two things don't go together that much for me. But no, I've met some really good content creators, people. So it's a beautiful rivalry, and I think that this week is going to be even add another little notch to it, because we're going to be able to show the Dallas Cowboys that you don't have to just make an excuse and say your quarterback's gone. You can still win a game. So it's gonna feel good. It's gonna feel good.
It's gonna be if the Cowboys were out without Dak, and now you're gonna be out without Hurts, and then they end up playing in the playoffs. Finally, the two playing against each other. It's just
gonna be
in
insane.
the word, like you said,
chaos.
That would be dope. And chaos all at the same time. All right, Joe, let everybody know, how they can follow you on Twitter, where they can listen to your shows, watch you on YouTube, all that good stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. At Philly TP on Twitter, basically on everything, really. Philly the podcast on YouTube, all that good stuff. Check out Fanfield as well. I interview former college players, former NFL players. It's co-founded by Michael Vick. So I have an interview with him coming out pretty soon. So definitely go check that out. But yeah, just look everything up, and you'll see my face a lot once these Eagles win, because I ain't shutting up. So, but I appreciate you guys. This is a lot of fun, man.
You're going to be all over my timeline on Christmas Day. I know that.
Oh, we're going to be coming. Insufferable. You will not be enjoying Christmas.
I'm going to be unwrapping presents with my daughter, and then I'm just going to start getting alerts. Merry Christmas. You lost. Merry Christmas. You lost. Awesome, Joe. We appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. You guys have a great one. Merry Christmas.
Same to you.